Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're at in this big, beautiful world. My name is Cody, and I am the host of the Behind the Premium. And today we've got a great topic for you. So let me just paint a picture for you really quick. You're sitting in your renewal meeting, and your broker tells you your premiums are going up by 18%. You ask why. They show you a one-page summary with a few charts on it that says claims were higher than expected. You ask which claims, what drove the cost, and they respond with something vague like a few large claimants, and it's all confidential. Here's the real thing. It's your money. It's your company. You're the one writing the checks for thousands, if not millions of dollars for your healthcare costs every year. And yet somehow you're not allowed to see the invoice. I don't know about you, but I definitely wouldn't run my business this way. And with any other expenses, I definitely wouldn't run it that way. But if you're a business leader, you probably wouldn't do the same as well. So that's what we're here today, is to really talk about, the elephant in the room. And so is it really just the business's fault? Is it the broker's fault? Or is it the insurer's fault? Or is it something completely different? And that's what we're going to find out today. And today I've got a great panel, as usual, lined up to help us tackle this hard question of how important really is insurance claim transparency when it comes to healthcare costs. So let's go around the horn and see who we've got joining us today. We will start with the ladies first. Rhonda, go for it.
Thanks, Cody. My name's Rhonda Nirenberg, founder of Welltrio. Started this company about 10 years ago to challenge the behemoth insurance crisis, and have a great team, and we're successfully able to really identify high claims, proactively reach out before they happen, and reduce them in real time. So happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. And as always, excited to have you here as well. And with that being said, we've got Monique. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm Monique. Thank you for having me today. And I work with Rhonda at Welltrio. I'm a health coach and benefits advocate with the company. And as I've said before on this podcast, I'm here to love people and make sure that they're getting the best care possible.
Well, I love that you're here to show some love to a lot of people, because our next panelist definitely brings the spicy takes each and every time he's on the show. John, my friend, how are you? And it's great to have you back.
I'm doing good, thanks, Cody. Yeah, we'll let Monique do all the touchy feely lovey stuff. I'm here to spice things up for sure. Let's dive into it. I'm the owner of Knutson Benefits Group. I'm an insurance broker. I've been doing this for 21 years. I've seen it all. So and I like Rhonda, I'm trying to break this thing. I'm going to try to break this thing down, trying to help companies take control of their benefits, have transparency and control, and some creativity too into their planning. So excited to be here and love the topic.
Yes. And I would have to say one of my favorite quotes from you was a few weeks ago when you said you wish there was just that easy button that you could just tap and blow the whole healthcare system up, and we can start from scratch. So I will always remember that quote from you because I love it, and I share the same passion as you as well. So if it's not working, why do we keep doing the same things over and over and trying to expect a different outcome? I think that's the definition of insanity, if I'm not mistaken. So, but with that being said, thanks for all of our panelists for being here. We appreciate you guys, taking time out of your busy schedule. And thanks to all of you guys that are tuning in. We've got a couple of people watching, as well as those that will most likely watch this on a later recording. We appreciate your support. And I'm pretty excited about today's topic. I'm not going to lie. I'm a huge data guy. I love it. I use it in a lot of my businesses and various roles that I play within those businesses. And so for me, I'm excited to have a real honest conversation about something that most businesses just accept as the way things are, and don't really ask whether it has to be that way or if they can change it. So let's begin. With that being said, I'm just going to throw this first question out there for you guys. And, it really boils down to ripping the Band-Aid off. How important is claim transparency for businesses when it comes to healthcare costs?
Jump in.
All right.
I, like you said in the opening, I cannot comprehend doing business without it. And when I sit in those quarterly meetings with the TPA, the third party administrator, and the broker, and the client, and they are presenting this incredibly beautiful data in big presentations with charts and colors and graphs, I just see a whole lot of numbers and nothing to do about it. Like, okay, we know what's there, now what? And that is super frustrating. So I have spent my career trying to figure out how to get in front of those claims so that they don't happen in the first place.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, John.
No, man,
What's your thoughts on this?
It's everything. Like, this has got to be a business's like largest business expense outside of maybe wages. Your insurance, your health insurance premium has got to be one of your largest expenses. And take any other expense you have as a business. You're digging into it. You're finding out all the different components. You're finding out how to save. Health insurance is like this mystery box where you pay thousands of dollars into premium, and the insurance company tells you just a little smidgen of what's going on in your group. We've got to get away from this. We have got to have transparency. Without transparency, there's no way for us to know what we can do about it. It's through knowing all the pieces of your group. It's knowing their conditions. It's knowing what they're dealing with that then unlocks the ability for us to go in and do some great creative work.
Makes total sense. All right, Monique.
Well, I was going to add that I think that in any other industry aside from healthcare, if we were going into things as blind as we do when it comes to insurance claims and healthcare costs, it would be almost criminal. So I don't see us going to a store and just putting things on a conveyor belt to check out at the grocery store and be like, I don't know what I'm going to pay for this, but I'm just going to buy it and see what happens and not know what I'm going to cook with it. And it's just going to be complete blind going in. And so I think in any other industry, we would consider that criminal. But in healthcare, it seems to be kind of the norm, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, as a business owner as well, it is very interesting to know that I can even get access to this data, very granular data sometimes. However, I'll play nice with brokers. I'll play nice with insurers. And when it comes to that kind of stuff, it really just depends on a variety of different things, the level of data that I can get, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but it depends on the type of insurance plan you're on. Is probably the biggest. Am I missing anything else? Maybe somebody wants to break down what types of insurances are out there and what that means for the type of data that a business owner can get or a business leader can get from it.
Hey, Cody, I'll attack that. I just sat in on a meeting earlier this week that 65% of American workers are in a program that is self-funded, but only 85% of employers, or 85% of employees are fully funded. So only 15% of employers are self-funded. Self-funded meaning they have access to all the data, they own the plan. All they have to do is look at it. Now, whether or not they look at it is another topic. But if you are on a fully funded plan, it can be almost impossible for some groups and maybe a little bit in some others, depending on the size of the group. But if you are put into a level funded or a fully funded plan, you may be part of a larger population, a larger community, and they don't want to give you claims data because you're either paying for your neighbor or you are your neighbor's paying for you, and they don't want you to have access to that. And it also depends on the state. Some states are impossible to get data out of. You cannot get data out of Hawaii, for example.
How come Hawaii isn't willing to give that up?
Hawaii has their own laws, and they just all kind of lump them in together. It's probably the closest to socialized medicine we have so far, as at least in my experience with working with states. There may be some East Coast states that are similar. But because of that, they do not want you to see your data. They don't want you to have anything to do with your claims because you're paying for your neighbor.
Wow, that's interesting because I thought Hawaii was just all laid back kind of culture. Sorry, that was a dad joke.
Nothing could go wrong in Hawaii.
What was that, John?
I said nothing could go wrong in Hawaii, right?
I mean, come on. I mean, I thought they'd be free willy-nilly, being willing to give up all that data. I don't know. No, that's pretty interesting, and thanks for that explanation. It's interesting. Like you were pointing out, it definitely depends on the type of plan that you're on, and the state. I didn't know that. I thought all states gave you information that way. I didn't know they held a lot of that back, which is kind of interesting. Which I guess you could say leads me into the next kind of follow-up question with that is, John, you probably work the most with employers on this, and trying to explain some of this data. What are some of your biggest frustrations that you get when you do see these kind of data points come through, and how do you try to explain something that's not really there in black and white form?
Yeah, when you've got full access to your data, it's wonderful because there are no questions now. We see it. It's all super transparent and open. What's extremely frustrating is when you're not on a self-funded plan, but on rather a level funded or fully insured, and the insurance company's just kind of giving you a little bit of the data. That's what's frustrating. They paint pictures. It's like they're creating their own narrative. The insurance company holds all the cards. They're playing a game, and they're going to tell you whatever backs them up on the insurance renewal increase they're trying to give you. So that is what I find extremely frustrating, is when they just give us a little bit without giving us the full story, hiding behind HIPAA and other things, when the reality is they're just using this to play against us, to increase our cost, and legally they don't have to give it to us because of the type of plan they're on. They don't have to do that. So and so they take full advantage of that opportunity. And just like Rhonda's saying, it's it almost feels criminal. I mean, the way that they are withholding information and then using that to increase our cost. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, healthcare data is healthcare data, and I get that they're trying to hide some fees because you're paying for your neighbor type of thing. But are there other reasons why they wouldn't want to give that data up?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've got examples of clients. I've got one small group that I was working with earlier this year, where the insurance company came out and said, "Yeah, sorry, your client is paying over 100% of their premium in claims." I said, "Wow, yeah, that sounds pretty bad. Like, can you give me some data on that?" And so they gave me what little reporting they could, and in that reporting, it showed that this company so far, I think it was 8 months into the year, they had spent $33,000. Their employees had spent $33,000, and I thought, okay, well, that doesn't seem like that big of a number. And then I looked a little deeper, and they said, "Yeah, see, here's the amount of money that we were expecting them to pay, $32,000." So that's over 100% of their premium that was allocated to our claims. Therefore, we're giving them a 21% increase because we don't see that slowing down. I dug in a little deeper and found that their annual premium was $113,000. Okay, so they were billing them $113,000 in premium, setting aside $33,000 to pay for claims, and then when they went or $32,000, and when they went barely over that at $33,000, they wanted to use that against them and say, "Yeah, now we're going to give you a 21% renewal." In the end, we were able to find a solution that came in at a 0% increase. Yeah, we had to move them, but now at least they're going to be with a carrier where I've got full transparency to their claims, and I don't have to play these stupid games anymore.
Hopefully I don't get my insurance policy canceled for saying this, but it definitely sounds like this industry is a little bit of a used car salesman approach to it, right? I mean, it feels very fishy to me.
Never take the first price. Yeah, you got to always push back.
Oh my goodness, Cody, it is so much worse. It is
Oh
so much
no,
worse than
don't tell
used
me
cars.
that.
Yeah, so much worse than used cars.
At least when I go to a used car sales, I know how much they want to pay. How much, at least I have an entry point. I know there's a price, even if it's not what I want to pay. What, like Monique said with the groceries on a conveyor belt, when we're talking about data, we're talking about just give me a receipt. What did I buy?
Yep.
We have no transparency on what's put onto the conveyor belt or what we're going to buy. What did I already buy? Not even considering what we paid for it and that we likely way overpaid for it. Like when we're working with a fully funded plan who is vertically integrated so that the insurance company owns the pharmacy, owns the provider, owns the network, owns the TPA, owns the PBM, they're pulling little profits out at every corner. And so I may be able to say, yeah, I spent $1,000 on that drug, on that one drug for that one person, but I can't see that receipt. What did the pharmacy pay? They may be paid $100 for that drug. Why are they charging us $1,000? So it is so much worse than used car. I would rather buy a used car every day.
Yeah, here we are working in this industry, right, Rhonda?
Oh man, that's good to know, Rhonda. That's definitely good to know. So next time, if I'm ever in the car sales business, I'll be like, hey, you could either buy a used car for me, or else we can talk health insurance. So, no, that's interesting, and I think when you think about trust, transparency, at least for me, when I'm trying to explain it to clients or I'm trying to kind of build transparency within. With a client, it is really, for me, it's all about trust, right? Trust and transparency almost go hand in hand. And, for me, when I go in, and I'll just use that used car salesman thing again, or even on new cars, right? You go in, you get this nice, shiny new thing, but then they start tacking in this fee and that fee and this and that. And then it's like, varies from broker to broker to broker, or used car to used car to used car dealership. And I think that's where a lot of people feel like they are getting abused and used, and but yet people still pay the premium there. When they buy those cars, they don't really argue too much. They may question it and say, hey, what's this doc fee? What's this fee? What's that fee? But not a lot of people do that. They may just question it and be like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, that makes sense. And just sign and go on. And I see that a lot of similar behavior in the business world. I mean, I've done it. I can't say that I haven't. I mean, I've done it where my brokers just come to me and said, hey, you're getting a 20% increase. Okay, thanks. I got bigger fish to fry today. I got more on my plate that I got to worry about, and go from there. But I guess this question is more for Monique. When you're working with employees specifically, how important is it? Because you build trust with each and every single employee out there. So to have transparency with their claims data, to kind of get an idea of, where things are at, where you might be able to help them. I know a lot of your information comes from them directly and not necessarily the claim side, but how important is transparency and trust with you on your side?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. And I would add to the analogy of buying the used car. You're essentially going in there and buying it as is with no warranty and no explanation of what could potentially be wrong with this car. And then you might ask, they'll be like, well, here's a generic thing that could be wrong with some cars, right? And that's really, I think, the situation that you're coming into. And so if I'm working with an individual and let's say they're on a common prescription and there's other options, and I am able to know the difference in those and be able to help direct it because those costs are transparent to me, and knowing where we're putting money with those insurance claims, it really helps me direct care better and look at other alternatives to not only save them money, but also the clients and the business in general.
No, that makes sense. I got to ask, just like with a used car, most states require a 3-day buyer's remorse rescission. I doubt there's anything like that in the insurance world. Am I wrong? Or
no, there is not anything quite like that. There is no returning your as-is vehicle or insurance plan.
It's worse.
I think there's a lot of us that wish we could return it, especially after the first, 30 days or even 6 months into it, and you realize, uh-oh, what did I do? Kind of thing. I guess saving a couple of bucks didn't really mean I'm saving bucks in the long run, right? So, no, that's interesting. Does anybody else have anything they want to add on to that or piggyback off of before we move on?
Cody, it's worse than that.
Oh, no. That's
They're
going to be
going-
Rhonda's quote of the episode. Cody, it's worse than that.
Worse than that. You're going to be fined if you don't buy this used car. And if you don't need it or use it, you still have to pay.
Yeah.
That's a good take on that. I really like that. I really like that. I think we can, yeah, that's an interesting take. I like that because, I mean, I lived in San Francisco for a while. I parked my car. It cost me $1,500 for a parking stall per month. And I probably drove my car twice. And it was to leave San Francisco. And so that analogy that you just gave was amazing because most individuals will pay at least $1,500 if they're on their own kind of ACA plan through the marketplace at least. So especially next year, right? Without all the credits and things like that. So, all right. I think you just nailed the best quote of the day. So that's awesome. So kind of moving this along, when we talk about claims data, claims, things like that, that's a very general, broad term. But what does that really entail? What kind of granular data can a business derive from there?
See, the thing I always want to see whenever I'm talking to a company, if they've got data, I want to know what medications their employees are taking. I want to know what conditions their employees have. But here's something that, anytime we start talking about data, inevitably people are going to start worrying about this is sensitive information. This is my employees' lives. Like we shouldn't know any of this. And there's some part truth to that. As an employer, you got to be really careful about knowing about your employees' health. You should never make an employment decision based on how healthy or sick your employee is. So anytime we're working with our clients in this realm, we're not talking about names. We're talking about conditions. We're talking about cost. So, but typically what we want to know about are the high costs. What are the things that are driving your numbers? And usually in a group, it's just a handful of people. It's a handful of issues that are spending the majority of your dollars. So that's what I want to see. I want to see, give me the ugly, give me all the nasty stuff. Show me
right.
how bad it is. And from there, we can start building stories about how we can make it better and how we can get around this.
Okay. Rhonda, you want to add anything to that?
Oh, yes. It's, you can get as detailed as you want. And if you are self-funded, you own that data. But like John said, companies don't want anything to do with that. And we've talked about this before. I don't think businesses were ever meant to be in the business of their employees' healthcare, and yet here we are. The big claims are important, and they can, when you get in front of those, you can save big dollars. But I'm interested in knowing what those small claims are as well. How many people are filling 800 milligram of Advil for $20 when they can take 4 200 milligram Advil over the counter for 2 cents a pill? I want to know all of those details. But what insurance companies do is they have an underwriter, kind of like a mortgage has an underwriter. They have people looking at your population and determining what are next year's costs going to be. They're predicting what risk you have in your group. It's like looking at your grocery receipt and trying to figure out what you're making at home. And they're guessing. So what is really unique about Welltrio is we're not guessing. We're actually shopping with the individual in the aisle at the health point of care and helping them make choices there before they check out, before that thing hits the seat, so that we can help navigate, hey, you can get this generic peaches are $2 less than brand name peaches, for example. I mean, kind of these analogies, but you can get very granular in the data, and it can be really impactful to make those massive costs, of course, but those little costs add up, especially in a large group.
Okay, I gotta ask. I mean, I can somewhat see the benefit of having you walk down the aisle with somebody in the grocery store, but if you're like me, every time I go to grab those that Red Bull, those Pop-Tart kind of things, and I know I got you looking over my shoulder, that can be a little overwhelming for somebody, especially when it comes to their privacy, right? So Rhonda and Monique, how do you guys overcome that kind of like layer of intimacy or privacy, and because you guys are very intimate with a lot of these employees? I mean, besides financial, health is the next biggest kind of privacy thing in people's lives. So I'm curious, how do you guys overcome that and help me so that I feel comfortable either grabbing a Red Bull here and there, or I make the behavior change of putting it back and not even grabbing it at all?
Well, I think I start that one, and then I'll let Rhonda take kind of the legalities of HIPAA and protecting people's information and privacy with the data that we're getting. But even from a very basic data level, if I can look at an employer's group of employees and see that the majority of them have type 2 diabetes and are on this type of drug, and then I can evaluate and say, well, it's a trucking company. These people aren't moving as much. They're eating fast food. They're generally picking up stuff at a grocery store. I can make adjustments based on that and how I coach in general the group of people. Maybe not you specifically, Cody, being like, stop going and getting all those Cinnabons when you go past the pilot, right? But just having an overview of those common things that we're seeing in this clientele allows me to give some generic advice. And then as I get to know you more personally and we build that trust and transparency like you were talking about, and you're comfortable saying, this is what I grab at the grocery store, you'll be more open to hearing my suggestions for you personally. But if I don't have an initial idea of what this population is struggling with or is really common in that area or that clientele, I really don't have an area to base anything off of and know which way to direct my coaching or which way to direct your healthcare. And I'll let Rhonda speak to the legalities of protecting privacy in regards to individuals.
I think it's a really good question. And Cody, I'm glad you brought it up. We've talked about Red Bull a couple times. I have never said anything about your Red Bull. You have some guilt underneath there. I have never challenged it, never told you couldn't do it. So I actually don't. And you kind of took an analogy where I'm talking about insurance, like a grocery store, and said, what about my Red Bull? I'm not saying when I'm swapping products, I'm finding you a generic Red Bull. I'm not actually determining what you are purchasing healthcare wise at all. I'm just helping you to determine where to buy it, where you can save your own dollars and in the process save your company dollars as well. So if we are doing a Red Bull and Pop-Tarts or Twinkies or Cinnabons or whatever we are at the truck stop, I'm actually teach my coaches to approach it in a purely education. I'm not taking anything away from anybody. I just want to learn about you and where you feel stuck and where you feel we need to move that needle just a little bit to make improvement. And Cody, it sounds like maybe for you it's Red Bull, but I don't know because we haven't had that conversation, and you get to make that decision. I'm not making any decisions for anybody. So you do Red Bull. I can see that you're feeling guilty about it, and we'll just keep that in the loop. And we'll maybe do some education about carbonation or artificial sweeteners or sugar or whatever you're...
Well, and the fact that Rhonda knows you like Red Bull, she can be like, hey, I saw a flyer and it's on sale down the street at this store. And that's really where she's kind of directing the education, is not being like, you can never have it and taking all your Red Bull. But she's like, hey, Cody, I know you like Red Bull. I saw a sale on it at Costco has a flat and you could save some money there.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. And to be honest, I've got my wife that's constantly overlooking over my shoulder, looking at what I'm buying on that kind of thing, because I definitely have a giant sweet tooth, that's for sure. But it makes total sense of what you're trying to do there. And I think that that's that kind of human nature of us thinking, okay, this person's going to come in, they're going to cut my benefits, they're going to tell me what I can and cannot do. And for a lot of people, that's a very standoffish. I mean, that throws up walls like no other. And it's really hard to build trust and transparency at that point, right? So thank you for both of you guys clarifying that. And yeah, I totally agree. It makes sense that you're not saying no. You're saying, okay, go here. This is where you can get it cheaper, but hey, maybe buy a sugar-free while you're there instead of the regular one, right? Because I think that it's important, because once you have established yourself as kind of like that SME or that subject matter expert when it comes to my health, I think that develops a long-term relationship. Like, I love my accountant, I love my doctor, and I love my Red Bull dealer. Right. So we all have the people that we trust in life. And to me, I think like John's one of those people. I think Monique, Rhonda, you guys are all those type of people that develop that level of trust. But a lot of times, like even for me, when I'm working with clients and I'm trying to explain why something's not working for them, one of the biggest things that I love to do is use data to show them why it's not working for them. And so they keep repeating the same patterns. We're creatures of habit, right? We keep using the same thing over and over again. We talked about it at the very beginning. So how have you guys used data in the past, from claims data to, John, for you, maybe if there's an example that you'd like to share where you were able to use their own data to push them into something even 10 times better, right? Or Monique change behavior, or Rhonda being able to show them that maybe this pill isn't the best thing for your group because it's eating up your funds, your budget really, really quick, and you can get the same results through here. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts if you have any experiences around using data.
Yeah. Let me chime in a little bit on that, because I think, back on the previous little train of thought, I think that we just aren't, as a society, as communities, we're not really used to shopping our care. We don't even know where to go to find it cheaper. It's like we're all stuck in the stadium, and the only place to get concessions is right there at the concession stand, and it's twice as expensive as any drugstore. So, or any convenience store on the corner, gas station. So a lot of times what people need is just a guide, someone that can stand there and say, I know this industry. I know where to go to get that exact same medication for a lot less, or that MRI, or any other kind of treatment or test that you're being prescribed. There are better, smarter places to go for the exact same thing, the exact same results. So that's what I love about Well Trio, is that you're guiding those people through those decisions. That's what everybody needs. Is they just need someone that knows better and can show them. Because I think a lot of people would be totally fine to spend less money on healthcare if they knew how, if they knew where to go and how to do it. So yeah. I think that's really important. But yeah, specific examples. I mean, my mind immediately jumps to pharmacy. There's a lot that we can do for people taking expensive medications. If they are currently getting an expensive drug through their insurance company and they're just paying out the nose for it, they aren't aware, but there are alternate places we can go to get that. So sometimes it's just going straight to the pharmaceutical company. Sometimes it's going and grabbing it from a neighboring country that now it costs less. There's strategies out there that we can implement and use to drive costs down. And all the while, it's the exact same medication. So we're not telling people that they can't have that drug. We're just saying, let's get it from somewhere smarter, and it won't cost as much.
Love it.
One thing I think about too is anytime you have a lack of education and I'm receiving a benefit from your lack of education, why would I educate you more? The majority of people, insurance companies, all of these types of situations, I'm not going to educate you more if I can make more money off of you by you simply not knowing. And so really where a Well Trio comes in is because we are able to access data and share data and educate you on how you can have more affordable and great quality care, you're not going to be taken advantage of. And data opens that door for us to make sure that individuals and companies aren't being taken advantage of when it comes to healthcare costs.
I like what you said, Monique. We just simply don't know what we're buying. If you ask people in America, what do you pay for a dozen eggs or a gallon of gas? People can give you a pretty good idea, especially in today's climate. How much are you paying for your thyroid medication? $10. How much is your company paying for your thyroid medication? Well, I got news for you. It's anywhere from $2 to $200, depending on where you go. And it can be the difference between the four corner drugstores on, Rite Aid and CVS and Walgreens and Walmart, they will have a low cost leader, kind of like their Costco's never going to raise their price on chicken. It's always going to be $4.99. They take a loss on that every year, so that when you come in at 5 o'clock to get your hot chicken, you walk out with $500 worth of groceries because you came in for dinner. And that's what pharmaceutical companies are doing. Except at least when I go through Costco, I know when I pick up the grapes that it's going to be another $8, and when I pick up a salad, it's going to be another $8. Like, I know what I'm buying, and I have an idea of how much it's going to cost. We have no idea how much things actually cost because we have this copay and then this cool card that makes pixie dust sprinkle over and it disappears, but somebody's paying for that. And it can be just last week somebody sent me, hey, what can you do for this? It was 3 prescriptions. They have a kid with epilepsy, and they were paying $1,200 a month for these 3 prescriptions. And in about 20 minutes, I got that down to about $40 a month. And not even going out of the country, just into a different corner pharmacy. All we needed to do. And if people don't know that, they don't do it. And because of the copay, we are making stupid decisions.
It's interesting that you state that, because, I think about when I go to my doctor and I have to get a prescription, they ask me, the first question is, where do you want me to send this?
Yep.
And I always choose the pharmacy that's on my way home. Right. And so I think a lot of times we just pay for convenience. Right. And in the marketing world, in this business world, we're always like, hey, you can actually charge a premium for convenience. Right. And so that's an interesting take that you brought there, because I'd never really even thought about that, because I know for a fact that I could probably get it cheaper through a different one if I was willing to drive just 10 more minutes out of my way to get home before going home. But for me, I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes after the doctor, I'm just spent, because maybe I was supposed to be seen at a specific time and they're running behind, and now I'm 40 minutes, 50 minutes before I'm late on my appointment, and I'm running late, and I'd rather just be like, okay, I just need to pick it up and be done. Like, the extra few minutes isn't really worth it. But to me, it sounds like it's worth it if you're willing to drive just an extra mile or two, right?
It's totally not worth it if you have a copay. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Totally not worth it. It's a popcorn at a movie theater. Popcorn is pennies to pop at home. Yeah. But people are going to buy popcorn at a movie theater because it's there. And if you had a company paying anything over $2 for your popcorn at a movie theater, you totally get the popcorn there, even if the popcorn then costs $50 because you're only paying $2. So we've really kind of screwed up the system and made unintended consequences by putting things in that get more convenient for people. What we need to do is get those drugs drop shipped to your door next day so that you don't have to think about it at all.
Well, and to kind of add to that is that if I am someone who doesn't understand that my $10 copay isn't really only $10 everywhere I go, and no one's educating me on that. So that just leads to further problems down the road and more costs when your insurance premium goes up next year. So if everyone in your company is paying a $10 copay and they're filling it at their local Rite Aid, right? But they can go literally across the street like we're talking about and still pay their $10, but it's going to help keep their insurance premiums down the next year. The savings are long term. for everybody in the company. And so sometimes it's about educating individuals. Yes, you'll pay $10 on the left side of the street, and yes, you'll pay $10 on the right side of the street. But if we can get everyone in your company to go to the right side of the street because it's cheaper overall for your company, then it's going to help keep your cost and your premiums down for next year. Otherwise, you're going to be paying for these things and the convenience, like you were talking about, of taking the right hand or the left hand turn. And you're not thinking about the long-term effects of filling those prescriptions, because to us, they're just $10.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point to point out, because I think at the end of the day, it's, a lot of people just think of it as kind of free insurance, right? My employer provides me this free insurance. All I need to know is, what is my copay, what is my deductible, and how much do I pay out of my paycheck every single month. Yes, that looks great. It kind of checks majority of the boxes that I need. This plan's perfect for me. That's all I need to do. But at the end of the day, it's not like the business is saying, hey, go to that right side of the street, because, maybe they don't even know, right? So that's interesting. I do have a quick follow-up on the data side of it. So when we get a procedure done, or we go spend time in the hospital, we get kind of like the pre-bill kind of thing, where we get an itemized list of, hey, this is how much it costs for a Band-Aid. This is how much it costs you to get your toe repaired, or whatever you went in for, right? How is that data different than actual claims data? Is that really painting a picture of what the costs are for the individual, or is it not really an itemized bill?
Boy, Cody, there's a lot to be said about that, about what the bill looks like, because it's kind of it's a similar thing. So now we're moving outside of health insurance, and now moving more into like actual medical claims. And I've seen some horrible things. I mean, if you want a story, I'll give you a little story.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. We're only 45 minutes in, and I've been waiting for the spicy take from you.
My little guy, my son was, at the time, I think he was 3. We have a little indoor, little small, so this isn't one of those big ones, but it's like a small bounce house, like an at-home bounce house. And so we have that fan. Well, my son got curious, and he took he saw that fan, and he decided to stick his little hand into the fan to see how the thing worked. How was it blowing that air out? Stuck his hand in, munched his fingers on that fan. Should have lopped him off, but it just mangled him pretty bad. We went to the hospital, and in the end, it was just a few stitches. Like it had pulled a lot of the skin off, but ultimately they just had to do some deep tissue stitches, and then that was it. So we weren't there that long, and we got home, and he literally just had a few stitches and some Band-Aids on his finger. We got the bill, $7,000. And initially the bill was there wasn't a lot of detail. And so thankfully I know what I'm doing. I'm in this industry, and I know some of the tricks that are played. So this is a good tip for anybody watching. Anytime you get a large bill like that, you need to go back to the hospital and ask for an itemized bill. And then from there, Google's going to be one of your best friends. From there, you can jump in and understand, what are these codes and what does this mean? And I saw on this bill something that said level 4. I was like, level 4? What does level 4 mean? So I went in and I searched level 4. Level 4 is like top trauma. It is like red alert. Everybody come in the room. This is a major emergency. And so this is something called upcoding. It's a strategy that a lot of hospitals will use to inflate their costs and get you to pay more. So we called him out on it. I called him up and said, this is outrageous. You're calling this a level 4 trauma. That's not what it was. I mean, I'm sure my little son felt like it was. But in the end, we argued and said, this was only a few stitches and some Band-Aids. Like, you are drastically taking advantage of this. And not to mention the woman that came in and said, oh, is your little guy okay? Would he like to have an iPad or some toys to play with while he calms down? Little did we know she was some kind of mental health therapist that was there to like calm him down because it was so traumatic. Yeah, we were charged for that as well. So we dug into it. We called their foul. We pushed back, and we got our bill cut in half. So yeah, don't think this is just an insurance company. We're not just ragging on insurance companies today. Hospitals are playing some pretty tricky games too.
So how's that legal?
Yeah, well,
It's a good question, isn't it? That's the question of the hour right there.
yeah, there'll be corrections. They'll come back and say, "Oh, sorry, yeah, let me adjust that for you." Oh, I didn't understand that. So I don't know. Push come to shove, maybe you could go legal with it. Take them to court. Yeah.
I mean, from my understanding, in a lot of financial industries, like you've got to over-explain terminology and different things like that to a T, especially when they're doing, mortgages and doing things like that. Why does the healthcare industry get to go off of billing codes as a way to describe the service? I mean, yeah. I can get that people try to inflate numbers and do that kind of stuff. It's business, it's sales, right? Whatever you want to call it. But on the flip side it's like, if you have to use Google to understand what the codes are, I think there's a real problem there.
So I would say that is why they're able to do it. They're billing someone like John, not knowing that he understands that this is unacceptable and he can look into it. I had a really similar experience years ago where I had lab work sent to a lab that was 2 hours away instead of the one that was downstairs so that they could bill me significantly higher. And I said, not a chance am I paying that. I did not consent to have it sent anywhere else. And there is a lab downstairs that could have ran the exact same test. But they're not expecting these people that are sitting there in an emergency room with their toddler who is in pain to be questioning or as educated as John might be in these situations. So again, it's a lack of education for individuals who don't have a support system telling them you don't have to allow them to bill you like that. You don't have to allow them to tell you where to go for that care if you can go somewhere cheaper. You have options, but people aren't being educated, and that's really unfortunate. And then that comes down to the cost for them at the end of the day and the cost that their company is paying out. And then again, at the end of the year when their premiums go up and these individuals don't understand why, it's because no one is sitting down with them and helping them make the best choices for their healthcare.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Rhonda, do you want to add anything? Because I got a question, kind of a follow-up question as well for you specifically. So if you want to add something, go for it, and then I'll ask my question.
Briefly, it's subjective. Leveling a trauma is subjective. It's such a game. And it's unfortunate because we're real people with real things going on. And, if there's somebody has 3 diagnoses, they get to be leveled a different way when they walk into any provider. But if they're going in for a cold, they shouldn't be leveled up. It should be a lower level, but they can level them up because they also have, I have to consider what medication to give them because they have high blood pressure. They're working the system. About 5 years ago, I met someone, I will not name names and I will not say location, but they are employed to work for a hospital near me. And their job, and they have a whole team of people to do it, is to determine if somebody comes in for like a stroke, and there are 3 procedures that we can do, and they all have the same outcome, but one of them tends to have more follow-up ER visits statistically, they pick that one and say, this is the one that our hospital does. And when I learned that this was this individual's job to figure out how to milk the system for money, it's like, I don't think I can be your friend.
How do you sleep at night?
At night. My job is to do the opposite of what you are doing.
Unbelievable.
And I have a team, but not like they do, to try to figure this out and undo it.
It is the healthcare mob, essentially, in these billing departments, unfortunately. And how can we take the most, it's the mafia. How can we take the most advantage of people in usually their most sensitive times or most crucial times when they're not able to go look for other options? And then we have people who are hired in these positions to make sure that we find every way to take advantage of them financially.
What really gets me going too is that I've got a lot of clients that have Hispanic employees. people from other countries that don't speak English very well, I see all kinds of abuse when they go into hospitals and get care. They just know like English is a barrier and they can take full advantage of them. And it makes me so mad. That is so wrong.
I do want to
Yeah.
say really quick, these are not bad providers. This is just a
Right.
system that's like wanting to stick it to the insurance company. Like
Yeah.
we can do this thinking the insurance company is going to pay, and the insurance company is making plenty of money, but the insurance company is not taking the hit. The employers are. And your premiums go up because of it. So
Yeah.
they're not bad providers. They're not bad people. They're just trying to make a living.
Ultimately, a broken system that is just kind of that ball rolling down the hill, right? Once it started, and it starts with $1 and it multiplies and multiplies into thousands.
We'll just blame it on the admin people, not the first responder people. They're the good healthcare providers, right? It's interesting that you guys were talking about having things jacked up and stuff. And so I'm pretty excited because in a few weeks, we're going to talk about how AI is taking the human emotion out of it. And they're the ones that are now jacking up the prices as well. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. We're going to have some tech people in here as well for that specific one. So I'm going to be grilling them pretty hard when it comes to that kind of behavior. But circling back to the question that I had for Rhonda a few minutes ago, we talked about the different levels of data that you can get. But I've also heard that, it's great. You get it, you get the data, but what do you do with it, right? What's the next plan of action? How can you be proactive with it? And I think that that's where a lot of businesses may struggle as well, is one, getting the data. Two, great, I got the data. Now what do I do with it? And what do you do with it?
Okay, let's go back to the grocery store analogy.
Sweet.
The data is literally the receipt. What did I buy? And the analysis is looking at the receipt and trying to determine future behavior of the people who bought it. What are they making a cake? Are they buying Thanksgiving dinner? Is this a chronic thing? Are they going to do it every week? Like they're trying to figure out what it's going to be. But until you put someone boots on the ground and figure out, hey, this person actually owns a bakery and they're going to be buying flour every week, or this person just, had a cook-off, and know the individual, know what their habits are, and get in front of those bills. Say, hey, the next time you buy 50 pounds of flour, let's buy this brand, or let's buy it over here, because I know that that's what you're going to be doing because I've now talked to you and I'm not guessing based on a receipt. Welltrio specifically works to get in front of those charges. So I can see that we spent $30,000 on a drug, or I can get in front of that drug and buy it for $5,000 in Canada. And I want to get in front of that drug because the very first time will save me $25,000 instead of going, oh, shoot, that costs a lot. They're going to fill it a second time before I even get to them. We're going to spend $60,000 before I even can catch it. So I work tirelessly to find ways to intercept those, to get in between them and get them purchased the right place first, so that, Cody, your drugs are being drop shipped to your door overnight and you don't have to think about where you're going to pick it up. Yeah. That's my goal.
So, I mean, for me, I'm open to having drugs delivered to my house, right? But what happens when they are those controlled kind of substance things that there's laws against sending it through mail or UPS or whatever kind of thing? Are there services that do allow for that? Or am I still stuck going to the pharmacy?
You are right to ask the question, but you're a little hung up on the logistics. Pharmacies can send scheduled drugs in the mail.
Oh,
most
cool.
Online providers cannot prescribe scheduled drugs. So if you're going to a teledoc, you're not going to get a scheduled drug shipped to you overnight. If you're going to a primary care provider, I can get your scheduled drug shipped to you overnight.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. That's really good to know. Well,
and for a really quick, the things that you're going to the doctor for that you need to take now, those drugs are not expensive. the things that I need an antibiotic, my kid has croup, they need an inhaler. Those are not expensive. It's the stuff that, this has been going on for a long time and what I'm doing isn't working and we're going to try this other drug. And we're not in a hurry to get it. Those are the things where we need to really look at it and make sure we're getting it at the right place, because those are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes.
That makes total sense. That makes total sense. All right. So we're almost at the top of the hour, and I do have one more final question for you. It's kind of a deep thinker one. But when it comes to claims data, if all three of you guys coming from different backgrounds, if you could have one specific change or one specific additional detail in that claims data, what would it be and why?
I would want everybody to see their itemized receipt before they pay the bill, before they even incur the charge.
Mhm.
It happens with pre-planned surgeries, or if you're going to the dentist, you know exactly what you're paying for before you get it done. Why can't we do that with medicine?
That's a good one.
I'd love to see companies having the right to their data, no matter the type of plan they have, even if they're on a fully insured plan, where they're pooling all their claims with other small groups in a given area. Like, even if that was the case, I'd love to see a world where every company was able to see fully transparent, fully loaded data of their plan and of their utilization. That would really open up possibilities for a guy like me trying to help companies navigate and find better solutions. Having that level of transparency would be transformational.
Yeah, and I think that when we're receiving data, or when these companies that do have access to this data are getting it, they have someone on board at every point to explain what this data actually means and how to make a change with it. So they would all have someone like Welltrio who's sitting down with them and analyzing the data that they are receiving and explaining what they have access to and what choices and changes they can be making.
Awesome. Great answers, guys. I appreciate you again for taking time out of your busy schedule. We're definitely at the top of the hour, and I want to be mindful of your guys' time. But thanks for coming in, participating. As always, love the spicy takes. I think I'd have to say this is our biggest one for the most metaphors used in an episode for explaining things. So that's awesome. We could check that one off and put a feather in our cap. But it's been a fun conversation with you guys, as always. And thanks to everybody that's been watching and tuning in. We appreciate you guys. And definitely check out John, check out Welltrio as well. We will tag them in the description. You guys can look them up as well. John and I are going to be doing a one-on-one exclusive interview here, hopefully next week if we can get it scheduled. And we'll do a deeper dive into why he's a broker that's innovating and looking to disrupt in the space, very much like Welltrio, our sponsor behind the premium. And we're looking forward to that as well. So with that being said, thanks, everybody. We will catch you every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or did I say Pacific? I meant Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. It's been a long day. Let's get this thing over with. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll check you guys out later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.